Next, the very important issue actually came up between insults and accusations in Sunday night's debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. There was the future of the Supreme Court and what each candidate would look for when nominating justices who serve life terms to the High Court. Adam Reilly takes a closer look at how the candidates differ on an issue that could shape our country for generations to come.
Late in the second presidential debate, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were asked to describe their priorities for a Supreme Court nominee.
I want to appoint Supreme Court justices who understand the way the world really works, who have real-life experience. They actually understand what people are up against.
And Clinton added she wants judges who will vote a specific way on specific cases.
I want a Supreme Court that will stick with Roe v. Wade and a woman's right to choose, and I want a Supreme Court that will stick with marriage equality.
Trump took a different tack.
Justice Scalia, great judge, died recently. I am looking to appoint judges very much in the mold of Justice Scalia.
Scalia was an originalist. He thought the meaning of the Constitution was constrained by the intent of the people who wrote it, so he didn't see any constitutional right to, say, abortion or same-sex marriage. For legal observers who share that philosophy, Trump's approach is encouraging.
So I believe this is a momentous election for the Supreme Court.
John McGinnis is a law professor at Northwestern and a staunch originalist. He says either Trump or Clinton will get to fill the Scalia seat, and maybe a couple more, since the court has two justices in their 80s and another in his 70s. But while he applauds Trump's intent, he's also wary.
Clinton may have more of a temperament for the rule of law personally. On the other hand, she is a progressive, and I think progressives are fundamentally, in some sense, opposed to our constitutional system as it was originally intended.
But Margaret Marshall, the former Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, says Clinton's progressivism is just what the High Court needs.
If you think of the United States, not so much in terms of Democratic or Republican points of view, but in terms of the moving forward of our society, so the key votes on things like voting rights, for example, consumer protection.
All areas where a Clinton pick would likely back robust government action, and a Trump pick wouldn't. But Marshall also says that whoever wins in November, the court's current 4-4 split needs to end quickly, because right now, federal law is being applied differently in different parts of the U.S.
If the court splits 4-4, you cannot have one part of the country being governed by one set of federal laws or federal constitutions and the other part of the country being governed by others.
Of course, Clinton's Supreme Court pick could be rejected if the Republicans keep the Senate. And if Democrats take the Senate, they might reject a Trump nominee. Both ugly scenarios. But here's one that's even worse.
And what would happen if we had another Bush against Gore situation? You can't have a divided United States Supreme Court.
Oh, my goodness. Adam Reilly, it's good to see you. So the obvious unspoken, Merrick Garland was nominated by Barack Obama. No hearings, no meetings, no nothing. Is the conventional wisdom that if Hillary Clinton wins, she renominates Merrick Garland?
That seems to be what the conventional wisdom is at this point anyway. The argument being that President Obama's already done a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to introducing him to the American people and to the Senate, and that if she were to renominate him, she could conserve her energy for other fights early in her first term if she wins.
How about the press speculation that if she wins, and particularly if they end up Democrats take the Senate, Republicans are going to rush to confirm Merrick Garland for fear that she might nominate someone more to the left than him?
That's a popular argument, especially on the right with people like Hugh Hewitt, the conservative radio show host. I would find it more convincing if we were talking about Bernie Sanders beating Donald Trump, because I happen to think that Clinton is, maybe a slightly left of center Democrat, if that, and that, Merrick Garland is probably the kind of person she'd nominate anyway if she started from scratch.
Quickly, third parties, Johnson and Stein spoken about this at all?
Gary Johnson is a big fan of originalism as well as Donald Trump, yes, and he may make eminent domain a litmus test. There was that Kello ruling a couple years back that said that private property could be taken for economic development. He hates it. That could be his sort of line in the sand. Jill Stein sounds a lot like Hillary Clinton. The first thing she says is that she wants people who are going to overturn Citizens United.
Great. Adam, thanks for doing this.
Thanks,
really appreciate it.